All right, it's just about the start of the hour. We're going to get this thing rolling here in a second. So I'm recording. I haven't made any promises to get this sucker posted yet, but because I really wanted to encourage everybody to actually show up. It's a big theme of mine, as you'll be seeing here throughout my deck of slides, is what's worked so well for me in conquering some of my own resolutions and goals and stuff is just doubling down on showing up. So it really means a lot to me that you guys made it in here on time, no less. And if you're on the phone or if you are sneaking this in the middle of your workday, I'm totally respectful of that. I'm totally mindful of that. So just minimize when necessary. It's totally cool if you just listen in. I'll try to keep it as conversational as possible. I did provide a lot of graphics. So I'm going to jump into those in just a second here. 75 in LA. Ooh, not cool. Not cool at all. Karen Wright's in the house, though. 0 degrees in Toronto. I wish I could show you the view out my window. The snow, my poor wife was just out shoveling our driveway. It's like about a foot deep. And I swear to God I meant to do that this morning before I started my workday. It just didn't happen yet. All right, so what do you say we kick off 2014? Who's with me? Is anybody ready to kick off 2014, like officially, right now? We're going to do this? Yeah, people can still sign up if they missed today. It's one link that goes for all 5 sessions, so just send them the same link. All right, we ready to get this started? All right, so let's get going. My name is Kristoffer Carter. My friends call me KC. My mommy still calls me Chrissy, still. I'm 38 years old. Welcome to the 2014 project, 2014. I just had this feeling that 2014 has to be completely different. And if we were going to make it completely different, we would have to start right at the outset with the type of goals that we set up for ourselves, the type of expectations we put on ourselves. So I wanted to get away from this idea of feeble resolutions and get on with the real deal, the real enchilada, which is alignments. And if we start with our alignment and then we structure our actions in accordance with that alignment, it creates a flywheel of what I call right action, where it really guides you to your goals versus this kind of shotgun approach of like, maybe it'll happen if I keep on staying on this hamster wheel all year long. Maybe I'll get to that goal. Maybe I'll make more money. Maybe I'll lose the weight, find that relationship, whatever it may be. But if we get truly in sync with ourselves, great shit tends to happen. And what I'm really hoping to get out of this first session is to prove to you that this actually works, and then also really inspire you to take some of the first steps with me this week in putting some of these things into practice. By the way, I'm a student right alongside all of you out there. I'm a Kriya Ban yogi, which means that I practice the type of yoga that's all about direct experience and self-realization, meaning that I'm kind of a scientist when it comes to my Virgo nature, and I really demand results from myself. So I will be in class alongside you doing all the same exercises, suffering in some cases, celebrating in others, because I'm really trying to validate my own theories and reaffirm what I've learned about this alignment stuff over the last few years. So I'm in it with you. Let's get rolling. All right, so we kind of know how to use GoToWebinar, don't we, by this point? I could probably skip this point, but I always feel compelled to put in some housekeeping options. Use the question box. You seem to know how to do that. It seems like everyone could hear me. It seems like everyone could see my screen. I don't have anything beyond that other than the quality of our transmission here today is directly related to how well GoToWebinar decides to function. So if audio gets sketchy or if images go weird, if I start sounding like T-Pain, like auto-tune, like robot style, just let me know and I'll try to slow the hell down so you could hear what the last couple of things I said. Sound good? Yes. You see, it's kind of awkward performing on a webinar because you're like, does that sound good? And you kind of, your immediate vicinity tells you like nobody's here, but then I look in the box and it's like all blowing up with activity. So let's get this thing started. If I could have you do it for the next 55 minutes or so, please put your life in airplane mode other than the device on which you're receiving this broadcast. Eliminate the distractions, close all the other windows, close all the other tabs. We only have 55 minutes here to start setting up our entire year. I want to try to keep it as free from distraction as possible. If you don't check your online banking in this next hour, I won't either. Sound good? All right, cool. So why? Why the 2014 project? Well, I alluded to this a little bit in the video I sent out, but a reader sent me, my friend Mary Krause, really devoted reader of my site and stuff, real big supporter of my work. What up, Mary, if you're out there? Um, she sent me this note just thanking me for the workbook that came out with the manifesto at the end of 2012. And it really switched up her game in the past year, and I realized that I had done the exact same exercises myself each of these past couple years. So I wanted to put something together really quickly to take as many people as possible through this process. And I'll show you exactly where this process has taken me in the past couple years of my journey. And I'll also kind of reaffirm the fact that it hasn't always been this way with me. I was very much a resolutions type of person. I would start in maybe early December doing the Brian Tracy Ultimate Goals program. It was like a 21-page workbook. It ended up being like 50 or so pages out of a notebook I would fill in feverishly. I did that for 3 or 4 years in a row. I've also done Tony Robbins programs. I've done all sorts of just like one-off type of goals programs, and none of them seem to stick. I read this great blog post today by my buddy and fellow Good Life Project member Mark Wynn, who threw out the stat that maybe 12% of our resolutions actually come to pass. And I think that's a pretty dismal, pathetic number. Because I'm a Kriya Bhan yogi and I'm like banking on self-realization someday, 100% sounds better to me. I don't care if it takes an entire lifetime. So let's get started here. This was the note that started it all. This particular paragraph I just wanted to call out. You know, she honestly said that she could be happier. She's happier than she has been in years. She's going to be doing the workbook again this year, and she can't wait to see what improved discipline and dedication. And I highlighted the word discipline because that actually became my word for 2014. That's what I'm really hoping to get out of this year, is that everything that's come to pass, all the great stuff that's come to pass in my life over the past really about 11 years has been a product of whatever level of discipline or completely non-existent level of discipline I had. So I'm really doubling down on this idea of discipline, and especially around what I call our non-negotiables. So let's learn more about our non-negotiables. In case you didn't realize, my name is Casey. Here's the org chart. As I mentioned, I'm a student right alongside you guys. I don't profess to be any type of guru or enlightened being. I take the word guru very seriously, actually. I am none of those things. I am basically a messenger. I basically work here. I'm basically maybe one Vespa scooter seat length in front of you on this path, and maybe I could turn back around every once in a while and say, how's it going back there? All right, so start with a quote. Have you ever heard this one? Pema Chodron, amazing Buddhist monk, happens to be female, but amazing writer. Nothing ever goes away until we learn what it needs to teach us. This could probably summarize my first, 26 years of my life. So let's start with this. Does anybody recognize this sweet-ass life strategy? This is something I actually majored in college, and got my doctorate in at a young age, burning the candle at both ends. I was the master of this. I remember certain periods of my life where I would literally go play rock shows, because I was in bands all the time, and I would play rock shows until maybe, 3 or 4 in the morning, wake up at 6, go to work and sit on a forklift and work about a 12-hour day. And I did this all summer long for a particular summer, and when you're young, it's sustainable. But as you age, you start realizing that the rest of your life is falling apart in the meantime. And by the end of, as I was starting to accumulate the different things in my life that I held sacred, these are what I call my non-negotiables, by the way, my life started to resemble more of like what I call a wax menorah, which is a pretty deadly like wax snowflake of candles burning. So where does that lead you? Well, obviously it only leads you one place. And for me, my day of reckoning came on October 25th, 2001. Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Is somebody, for some reason I got some extraneous noise on the line here. Hold on one second. Let me see if I need to mute anybody else here. 1 second, friends. Everything is fine. Cool. Sorry about that. Sorry if that was a distraction. So back to my presentation. October 25th, 2001, I was on my phone. in my cubicle at my desk at MGM Home Entertainment in Los Angeles, and I couldn't remember if I had called the person on the other end of the line or if they had called me. My brain was completely misfiring. All my coworkers, although their faces were familiar, I couldn't remember their names. And it was a very terrifying place to be when your brain doesn't work. And I would go on to have many more such episodes like this for the next 6 months or so. They were a precursor to some debilitating migraines caused by stress. That one in my cubicle was the worst, however, because it led me to an emergency CT scan and a spinal tap. And it came to a head when my vital signs actually bottomed out when I was under anesthetic, and I nearly died. In front of my wife of 1 year. We were both a couple of kids, got married young. We moved out to California, got our jobs, all this stuff, but I had no context or no framework for how to live my life appropriately. I just kept on, yeah, I'll do it, I'll do more, I could do this, I got this. And when you bundle in a bunch of unscrupulous, crappy habits around that, you have a recipe for disaster. So that's where it led me. And the sad part about this is that if I would have gone out like that, I would have died like literally in a freaking cubicle at the age of 26. So I couldn't have that. It took me about 11 more years to figure this out, but last year when I was on sabbatical from my company, I was doing a lot of meditation. I was kind of getting my total head, my head clear, all the space clear, and I developed this idea of the framework. And the framework, I call it my flux capacitor revelation because it is not unlike the moment where Doc Brown in Back to the Future discovers the mode of time travel. And it's very simple. It's basically upgrade your lens, which is how you interpret your entire perception of life around you. It's not just cultivating a happy attitude of, oh, there are no weeds in my garden. It's much bigger and deeper than that. It's kind of, it has the power to either enhance or diminish all you experience. That is the power of the lens. And we're going to jump into our lens statements here in a minute, but I'm really curious to see if some of you guys have started doing that lens exercise, because that alone is a pretty powerful first step in lining up your 2014. And I'll actually share mine as well. Define your non-negotiables. I mentioned these, your sacred life ingredients that cannot be removed or substituted. You've already disproven all the haters and non-believers in your life saying, like, I'm not giving up on my sweet nunchuck skills or my needle pointing or my sweet coding skills or website developing skills, if I'm Rachel Gogos, for example. You are not giving up on this stuff because they make you who you are. So those are non-negotiables. And then this idea of practicing full life integration. So full life integration is where we want to end up as a product of the alignment. This is an example of my personal framework. These are my non-negotiables, the 5 in the center: soul, vitality, family, art, and work. They're the same general categories we're going to be using for the 5-week program. We're going to work on each of these, each of the 5 weeks. And the reason for that is I wanted to wrangle subject matter badasses, I call them, to help drive each of these things home, because all of us need to round out our lives in such a way that support our goals. If you look around the outside, you can see my lens statement. This is my upgraded lens statement. I'll share my my previous one with you, just so you can see how this goes. Like, and why don't we do a poll right here while we're at it? I want to see how many of you amazing people have actually done the lens statement. So you ready? Here we go. Did you do the poll? No, you were scared. Yes, but it still needs crafting. Yes, and I'm psyched out of my mind about it. Very small percentage are psyched out of their mind about it. I could almost guess who it is. No, I didn't answer. I got you, Linda. Linda says she has too many non-negotiables. It's hard for her to narrow down to just 5. That's understandable. Hey, wait, who said I'm a loser? I will not stand for that. We don't talk about our friends that way. All right, so the official results are in, and 49% of you said that you are that you did it, but it still needs crafting. 43% said no, you were scared. Maybe you weren't scared, but I think that's pretty decent numbers. What I'm psyched about is 57% of us attempted the exercise. So right now, can you guys still see my camera okay? All right, cool. Kate Riddle's excited about doing it, but she has not done it yet. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you into my trust tree. Is it cool if I take you in the trust tree? All right, we're in the trust tree. All right, so here's what I did. First page, I went through really quickly and circled all of the virtues that I want to emulate and resonate with this year. Discipline, I already mentioned, empathy, inspiration, joyfulness, generosity, creativity, courage, detachment, service, wisdom, sobriety, spirituality, all the things that make me me, basically, right? So a few years ago, the first time I did this, my first version was the one that's actually included in the workbook. I didn't have any other examples at the time, so I used my own. It was, I joyfully expect everything to work out. I use my creativity to inspire and entertain others. I consciously pursue excellence. I have fun, and that's what I do every day. Well, when I was leaving Mexico at the end of like mid-October 2012, I was down in Mexico with our Good Life Project brothers and sisters, and they basically kicked my ass and challenged me into rethinking my entire approach. And I was getting ready to drop the manifesto at the time, and leading that session, I realized that I needed to do a substantial amount of growth at a very quick clip if I was going to receive all this stuff I was trying to allow into my life. So what I did on the airplane, I actually did my own workbook. I hadn't done it up to that point. I did the virtues, all these things, and I came up with this. So this is a much bigger upgrade than what it was before because I had to throw in this concept of trying to live by my own example, and I was scared shitless to try to do this, but I got forced into doing it, and I'm so grateful I did. So here's what it is now, and if you think about me, if you know me at all on a personal level, my hope is that it's somewhat consistent with who I am now, but the lens statement is supposed to be somewhat aspirational, so it's who you're trying to become and those big boy slacks that you're trying to grow into, but it's also a lot of the things that people already thank you for. It's the things that make you, you. So here's mine. I serve God and others through my creative and inspired example. I remain humble in the miracle of my circumstances. Sobriety and integration guide my destined outcomes. I consciously pursue excellence. I joyfully expect everything to work out. I have fun, and on a daily basis, I cultivate the discipline to rock all of the above. So that was my stab yesterday at doing my own lens statement. If anybody has one they'd like to share in the questions, I would love to hear it in the questions box. I would love to hear your, please put your name with it so I could share them with everybody, please. Sound good? Let's hear those lens statements. I should have had you copy and paste these ahead of time. I'm sorry. Julie, yeah, let's use the question box. Sound good? All right. I give and receive inspiration with grace. I stretch towards beauty with playfulness and ease. I'm a transparent to the divine and feel the magic of my health and gifts. Share my joy and appreciate that I make a difference. I trust my guides and feel connected. See, I love this exercise because it honestly makes me want to steal them from all of you. They're so friggin' inspiring. Okay, my buddy Mark Z. I will use my creativity to develop something purposeful to myself and of service to others. I will live with deep love, laughter, and courage in both my business and personal life. A deep and reflective knowledge will be my end reward. Mark, you know what's awesome about that, other than the fact that it gives a brother chills? Look at my little arm hairs. It's the fact that I've seen this transformation even at a distance over the past year, and out of your TEDx talk, you know, when we're all sobbing along with you, I can tell you that you're on the right path. I mean, it's already happening. Nicole, I live and give as a storyteller, protector, wise elder, holistically healthy, and with joie de vivre. Ooh, you had me at joie de vivre. All right, we're going to do one more. Lisa, I'm accepting, loving, and compassionate in my relationships with others and myself. I dedicate myself to pursuing my ambitions while maintaining my flexibility and openness. I have fun in all endeavors. All right, so here's what I want you to do with these, because these are freaking sweet. Marion, I joyfully use my creativity. I'm loving this. All right, so here's what you got to do. What really switched everything up for me when I upgraded my lens statement was that I got back from that trip I told you about, and I went on a run the next day, and a lot of things were in flux in my life. Good Life Project, which I was a part of last year, they convinced me to ask for a much bigger national type of role at my company, and I didn't have really the ball. I kind of hinted around that I wanted a job, but I didn't really reach out and grab it just yet. So I wanted to grow in my big boy pants kind of quickly. So I went on this run and I memorized and recited my lens statement to myself about 100 to 150 times while I was on my run. And yes, you will look like kind of schizophrenic and little, you know, odd running down the trail. However, by the time you recite this to yourself 100 or so times, while you have all that adrenaline kicking, all that oxygen and love, serotonin, I guarantee you it will connect. And I did feel a shift. And when I got back to my desk, it was 2 days before I launched the manifesto. I plugged through launching that. I got a call from my company telling me I had to come to Chicago to accept my new job offer that I didn't really have to negotiate for. So I'm telling you, this stuff works, but it starts with the lens statement. This is the first step of getting in what I call mega alignment. Sound good? Wow, somebody mentioned the Dharma. I rock my authentic self. I'm grounded in my gratitude. My genuine smile inspires others. I am on the path and the flow with my Dharma. Stacy O, the stinky yogi. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful stuff. All right, so where does this lead you? Where do these things like non-negotiables and full life integration lead you? Well, here's where it led me. Whatever I'm about to show you is not for me to say, oh, look what I could do. It's quite the opposite. For most of my life, as I mentioned, it was more of a curse than a type of blessing. I felt like many types of energy kind of siloed, and I didn't have it all working in one direction. So this is the core of everything I do. As I mentioned, I'm a Kriya Bhan yogi. I received my initiation into Kriya Yoga back in October in Boston. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life. That's when this happened. These are my gurus. That's me getting my meditation on during a run. Vitality has been a big player since I had my bottoming out of my health episode. This is kind of funny. I was pulling screenshots for one of my ad campaigns during the day, and I saw a picture of myself on the cover of this, or on the front page of the Chicago website. I'm like, I know those tacky board shorts and that hideous orange tank top. That's me. It's running the Chicago Marathon. My family has always kind of been the miracle that happened despite all my other efforts to get notoriety or to do anything amazing in the world. By far, my family is my biggest miracle, my biggest accomplishment, my biggest legacy. And I love this center picture because this really says it all about how real we keep it around here. It's my wife Gail and I. We've been married almost 15 years. These are our kids totally melting down during Christmas photos. This is our recent Christmas photo I put together. I got wise about this, and I shoot us each individually and put us together, knowing that there's no such thing as a perfect family photo. And you may have read the cover of Akron Life magazine. Art has always been a big one. My goal here in bringing you guys into the art, I know we have Cynthia Morris on the line. Cynthia Morris has really kind of doubly inspired me, first as a writing coach and helping me put my own art out into the world, but now what she's doing with Capture the Wow, like teaching people how to harness their creativity and expression in everyday life. I truly believe that art and expression is the one antidote to what I call the grind. The grind comes in many forms. You know, we think about like the cubicle, shitty lighting, you know, I'm in the grind. Or, you know, like I think about working at the grill at Applebee's when I was back in college and having, you know, a shitload of orders and no time to get the orders to the tables. That is kind of a grind. But anytime you're doing something like your expenses or your bills or reaching out to clients, the stuff that's kind of feels more grindish than the flow of your work, you got to pivot it towards art and creativity. And if you package that task in some art and expression, I guarantee you can elevate even the most mundane of spreadsheets into a work of art. And lately I've been experimenting with this with PowerPoint slides. My friend Jonathan Fields hired me to do all the PowerPoint slides for a couple of his keynotes as well as his Revolution U launch. And it was a skill that I always hated doing. I'm like, I gotta do some damn PowerPoint. Sucks. But when you turn them into art, it becomes fun, and when you really keep the end user in mind in terms of giving them some art, that's when it really connects. So art's going to be a big one for us. And that brings us to work. Somebody wants me to tell them how to make expenses exciting. I'm going to ask Cynthia Morris about that, and you got to come back for week 4 because Cynthia Morris has the best approach. She gets into this mindset of how much opportunity she stirred up over the last month and how many people she served, and she gets into that place, and the expenses are a reflection of that. It's pretty cool. So what do I do for work? Well, this is me and my CEO, founder and CEO of Centro. And Centro is a great little company. I joined when we had about 44 employees. We now have about 400 and something. And we've won the #1 best place to work in Chicago for the last 3 years. So the first year we were like, wow, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe they are going to find us out next year. But then we won again. And then we won a third time last year. And I thought, well, you can't rig 360 surveys of all employees. You can't rig happiness. So I think Sean's really onto something. He wrote the manifesto, the corporate manifesto that really inspired my own for this epic life. And I really consider myself kind of my brother's keeper in a way in terms of protecting his vision and carrying out the original vision set out by the manifesto. On paper, I oversee sales training and development for the company. But this is us singing Ignition Remix on stage in front of some coworkers, so I don't really know if I'm working or not. That's my point, is like when you're in alignment, you don't know when your work life ends and when the rest of your life begins. All right, 2014 project. Let's get on with it. Every Thursday, 5 weeks. So I showed you this in the video. This week we got to start with soul. It's really the place we have to start if we're going to create some leverage. I'll talk to you about leverage in a minute, but I know you have resolutions. I know you've been collecting resolutions. I have my list. Let's see. This isn't a plug, shameless plug for the Good Life Project. All right, right here, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. I have them organized by theme, my major accomplishments. I didn't do this, though, until I got in alignment. So week 1, we're going to talk about creating a stilling practice of some sort. I know we have some yogis and yoginis on the line, so I don't want to insult you with bringing it down a few notches, but the idea of a soul practice is that it can always go deeper and it can always take us into more stillness. Week 2, we're going to get into vitality and health, family, art, and work. And just so you know, relationships I know is a huge one. It's a huge resolution point for many people. That relationships I kind of group under family. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a person you want to marry and spend the rest of your life and spit out a bunch of kids with, but this idea that all the people in our lives, I kind of organize it in that we work on ourselves pretty heavily, and then we're prepared to give as much as we possibly can give to the outside world. So it's family and relationships, our art and our expression, and finally our work. And you can start pulling out this paper and getting it ready, because we're going to start committing to some of these in a minute. This little guy, I started writing mine in, but we're going to commit to some rituals each of these weeks, and then we're going to hold each other accountable for getting them done. Because my promise to you is that if you build all of these habits week to week over the course of 5 weeks and keep adding in little ones, by the time you show up to your work with all of these things kind of moving in the right direction, you're going to be completely unstoppable. That's my theory. All right, so we got to talk for a second about right action, okay? Action, everyone talks about taking action, and let's go make some goals and take some action, and it's, I don't know, to me it just sounds like static and white noise anymore. It's like, no shit, we need to take action. I mean, we didn't reincarnate in our lives to just sleep all day or play Legend of Zelda like I did in 8th grade. It's more so about doing the most we possibly can with what we have to work with and what we have to contribute. However, this idea of action becomes extremely important in that you want to always be orienting yourself towards right action versus action for action's sake. I always tell people I have 0 time for busyness. I have all the time in the world for my people. So how do you reconcile those two things? Well, you want to guide yourself towards right action. A list of goals that might not be in line with who you are going to lead you down some dead-end paths. You're going to be spinning your wheels. So keep this idea in mind, right action. Aligning the space around you, your physical space, your workspace. I have my altar over here. I'm in my attic office right now. I have a downstairs office, which is my production studio, and I spend a lot of time this time of year just organizing everything and creating a sanctuary. I'll talk about sanctuaries in a minute. And then finally, everything we're talking about here, your alignment, your non-negotiables, your practices, your virtues and strengths, and your values. Because all these things working together, your action creates the flow scenario. And the flow scenario is some powerful shit, because you don't need to be talking about, oh, I need to make this action list and check off this checkbox so I can take more actions at this time. It's all happening to spite you. And my best evidence for this, I came up with it the other day, is that you got to admit that despite whatever resolutions you write down each year, there's some amazing stuff that happens in your life almost despite you. And so how did that stuff happen? Well, it was a product of your alignment. It's a product of the flow that you're creating. But if you get all of these things working together where it has some intention and some direction and some focus and some planning around it, that's when really, like, legitimately the sky's the limit. I want to talk to you a little bit about this notion of mission versus space. I'm using space a little bit differently here from the last slide. I'm not talking about your physical surroundings and using space here. I'm talking about the room you need to carry out your mission. So each of us each year, hold on, my hat was bugging. Each of us each year has a bigger and bigger mission. And you just have to accept it. It's how life is. It needs more from us. You know, I always say the world needs to know how bad you really want it. So it stacks the stakes a little bit higher. So it doesn't matter if you had a shitty year last year or an amazing year last year. It really is about you walk in with heightened expectations. Therefore, your mission or your vision for yourself grows. However, most people have a inverse relationship between their mission growing, the vision growing, and the space they have to carry it out. This creates all sorts of problems. Drug addiction, mass distraction, procrastination, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, sketchy behavior. So here's where the magic happens, is that you need to increase your space in your life proportionally to the size of the vision you want to take on. So I know a lot of people on this line are revolutionaries. A lot of them run their own companies. A lot of them carry out a pretty hefty outward mission in their lives. So my challenge to all of them always, and I've worked with many of you one-on-one, you know that I will always say my first questions are, how often are you meditating? What's your self-care look like? How are you taking care of the vessel that's going to deliver all these goods? Because if you just keep stacking on mission and values, and I'll make that extra 40 grand and 50 grand, but pay attention, I work with so many people also that just allow less and less space while increasing the mission, less and less space, and it just always leads to burnout every single time. So I want you to keep this idea in motion, that we got in mind that we got to create space. We already talked about right action, so I want to talk a little bit about addition versus subtraction. As we're adding these habits into our lives, I want to we're going to have a poll in just 1 second here, but I want to just plant a little seed with you about subtraction versus addition. So similar to how we multiply like the snowball running down the hill, the idea that we want to keep adding to what we're already doing creates stress. And if I had to just sit down and make a list of all the things I'm supposed to accomplish by February 1st alone for my company and my family and my blah, 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 I'd totally freak out and I'd probably shut down into fetal ball sucking my thumb. However, if I approach it from a mindset of subtraction, what am I getting out of this by getting it done today? What am I taking away by putting in my stilling habit, by increasing my meditation? What am I getting back? I'm always looking at what am I getting back? What am I taking away? Adding in a meditation practice, a health practice, time with your family, those nurturing, nourishing things in our lives versus the other end of crazy, which is not allowing any time for it, it really helps you win the long game. So think about this idea of subtraction. What are you getting back? We're not adding habits today. We're not adding a ton of habits over the next 5 weeks. We're taking away a lot of the stress, anxiety, and just spinning of your wheels that could happen if you don't get certain habits like this into place. Sound good? All right, just a quick reflection question. What's possible when we stop using time as an excuse? Think about that. How often do you defer to that old one? Oh, well, I could get it to you by COB, but somebody will have to die because blah, 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 blah. Like, there's so many things attached to this negative finite value for time. The best explanation I've read about this recently was in a book called The Big Leap by, oh my gosh, Gay Hendricks. The guy's name is Gay Hendricks. He talks about Newtonian time, which is finite, versus Einsteinian time, which is infinite. So once we realize that we ourselves are infinite creators of time, yeah, Carrie, bend time. I love bending time. I am a time bender. People wonder if there are 5 of me or if I have like a little army of Keebler Elf clones that look like Chrissy Carter. And I wish I did, frankly, because we'd have the sweetest ass rock band in history. But seriously, I am able to bend time in my favor. It's not about just getting less sleep and taking away from everything else. It's about, it really comes back to that right action idea, is that when I sit down to do something, I make sure I do the right thing. And plenty of times I don't, trust me, ask my wife. However, typically when it comes to work and how I allocate my time, this is what works for me. So I want to go to another poll really quick. Let's do this one. I'm curious to know which of what type of buckets your goals fall in for this year? So take a couple seconds to answer this for me. You guys all still with me, by the way?
Yep.
All right. Who just said yep? Because I can hear
Anna.
you. Anna, how did you get the... This is crazy. I think I must have sent you an organizer line because I could hear you talking back to me. It's so great.
Oh, that's weird.
No, it's not weird. It's beautiful. Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody give it up for Anna. Woo! All right. That said, Anna, could you do me a favor and mute your line?
And do what? Mute it?
Yeah, can I
All right,
mute?
I'll figure. Yeah.
No rush. No rush. Wow, I'm loving this already. Okay, this is what I expected to see so far. About 50% of us are saying work, but it's changing significantly. Soul and vitality is really starting to shift. All right, we're just going to give it one more minute here because I really want to get everybody. I have about 73% of the votes in. I want to get closer to 90%, and I'll give you the results. Isn't this so exciting? That's my polls dance. Okay, somebody needed an all of the above answer. That's me. I always say there are no back burners on my stove. It's all front burners, homie. I don't have back burners. All right, cool. So let's do, we're going to close this out. All right, here's the results. I love this, that even by a hair, that 51% is deepening a soul practice or consciousness, or maybe some soul-nourishing travel. I'm guessing that travel probably had a lot to do with this creeping up so high. Vitality, that makes a lot of sense in resolution season, because typically we treat ourselves like utter shit over the holidays. Like, yes, Mom, I love fruitcake. Family, art, work. Work, I expected to be a lot higher. I expected work to be closer to 70-80%. I come in swinging professionally. The start of the year, I want to make X% more money, or take on this type of bigger, better clients, that type of thing. But I kind of like where this is heading because the thanks for the love, Debbie. I really appreciate it. The idea of work should benefit from all of that comes before it. So I like the fact that work isn't really dominant here, because if you're focusing on the things that come before it, work is a given. Work, killer money, killer clients, it's a symptom of your alignment. So that's great. Let's move on. I'm going to close that sucker out. All right, that brings us to the week one content. Oh my gosh, I got to make sure I'm staying on pace. We only have 20 minutes left. So let's talk about soul. I'm going to roll through this a little bit quickly in that I know many of you are hip to the meditation practice. I'm going to do one last quick poll here just because it's important I know this before I head into this next session. But if you had to rate your soul practice on a scale of 0 to 100, where are you guys? I'm expecting this to be a pretty highly conscious group, which is awesome. Cool. I love that everyone's being honest and nobody's saying 0 all filled up. I think that's kind of impossible. Unless you're like one of my cats here, that stayed in, samadhi all day long in full like God bliss. All right, cool. Let's close this out. So here's your results. 29% practice when they need to. A little bit higher say that they have a steady practice, can definitely go deeper. And barely, but they're kind of there. So really, this is for, it's really for all of us, but I'll tell you where I'm at with it right now. My regimen, what I'm required to do as a Kriya Bhan yogi, is minimum 9 to 11 hours per week, typically 1 hour per day in the morning, and then many evenings, half hour at night to kind of bookend my day and to kind of wrap everything up. So I'm trying to double down on that, and I'll share what I'm going to do. But the fact is, I was one of those, if you can't already tell, I have uncomfortable levels of energy. So it was hard for me to still my mind at any level. Like somebody told me, you just need to meditate like 5 minutes a day, dude. Please, for all of us, please, 5 minutes a day. You can do it, And I'd say, what do you mean? Well, I like dancing, So I've come a long way with this, definitely despite myself, I was terrified of sitting still for more than 5 minutes. But if you're sitting still for 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, half hour a day, go another 20. You know, Deepak Chopra, he's always giving his buddy Wayne Dyer crap about, you know, Wayne Dyer will go to him with problems, be like, Deepak, I have all these, you know, this thing's falling apart and whatever. And Deepak's answer is always the exact same. You need to meditate, you know. So he's always trying to get Wayne Dyer to meditate more. So it should show you that there's no limit to how deep you can go or for how long you can try to sit for. All right, we kind of know the benefits. The most powerful one I've discovered in the past year is this idea of meta attention. My friend Jonathan Fields really crystallized this for me, is that it's important to pay attention to where you're spending your time. We all need that to be aware and to show up places and stuff and to feed our kids. But meta attention allows you to zoom the lens back to being conscious of how you're allocating your attention. And it's very important if you're thinking about living by your lens statement or living a principle-guided life or a virtue-guided life. This idea of meta-attention, you always want to be looking at your life from the top down. Better focus, leverage, I'm going to talk about leverage in a second, and adaptability. Oh my gosh, we have so much stuff coming at us day to day in this grind of so many screens. Like, you know, at any given time we could get a crappy email from like 20 different devices, you know, so how do you adapt on the fly to respond to those from a good place that kind of leads you to where you want to get versus, you know, jumping off the path and wrestling in the weeds with the turkeys like some hillbilly. Or rejuvenation. Research has actually showed that it's more rejuvenating than sleep. All right, you've probably heard this quote, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. Archimedes. I just learned how to say that. Archimedes. So here's my secret sauce. I'll let you peek under the hood. All right, so people wonder, you know, Chrissy, how are you, you know, spazzing out and getting all this stuff done? I delivered a couple projects at work last year that I had no business attempting. I did not know anything about curriculum design. I did not know anything about training salespeople. I thought you'd get up in front of a room and talked. That's why I wanted the job. However, I had to launch a sales onboarding program, and it would have cost our company hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. So I was like, I'm going to deliver it. By the end of the year, I'm going to do it. And we delivered it, I think, in April. So how do you do these things? Well, as I mentioned, I have no time for busyness. When my friend Jonathan asks, you know, hey, can you, do you want to stay involved with Good Life Project? Do you want to do this? Like, of course, yes, because, you know, he's an amazing inspiration and he does great work and all this stuff. But if I start to default to thinking about time, that's when I screw myself. I'm like, no, I have too many things. However, when I come back to a place of soul becomes the leverage. So deepening my meditation practice, going longer, going deeper, and it's not just quantity, it's quality. So you could do this in 5 minutes if you're clear. Can you meditate while you're running? Absolutely. You could definitely integrate your stillness practice with other habits, and we'll talk about that too as we go. And we're going to talk mostly about that in the later sessions on integrating. But you know, my friend Joe, growing up, he was asking. He's a big runner. For some runners, running is absolutely a meditation. For a lot of people, it's driving in a car. They could kind of just see everything becomes a wash of scenery. They could, you know, get out of their problems. Anywhere where you could thin out the layer of static between your higher self and your meat suit, that's meditation. However, not all meditation is equal. So there's mindfulness, there's tons of different practices. And I put up a resources page, by the way. I'll hit you guys too, where you can access all my materials on this stuff. The goal with it is that what I'm encouraging you to do is to turn off all screens, be silent, and be still. Okay, because your body will, when you rev up your body while you're running or while you're doing other things, you know, I would wash the dishes while I meditate. You could do a mindfulness practice while you wash dishes or while you eat, all those things. I'm encouraging you to do total stillness, total silence, gadgets off, airplane mode. Okay, it's much more profound, much deeper, much harder at first. However, it has a much faster impact than trying to combine it out of the gate. All right, what do all these people have in common? I'll give you a hint. They all meditate. They're also all in the same tax bracket. And the third thing is, I guarantee you that they're all busier than everybody on this call, including myself. This is the chairman of Ford Motor Company, arguably the best music producer in history, Rick Rubin, head of Huffington Post, on the other side of the ideology, head of Fox News Corp, Oprah Winfrey, head of our company Centro, and one of the heads of not Oracle, a Padmasir warrior. It'll come to me in a minute. But the point here is that all these people are busy as hell, except they make an hour, 30 minutes plus per day to meditate. And I think the results kind of show for it. And then we have this guy, I don't know if you know him, the only book on his iPad when he passed away, the only book that he had individually wrapped and given to every single attendee of his funeral services, Autobiography of a Yogi. I don't do that to pitch my master's work in any way, but I think it's pretty telling that one of the biggest visionaries in history relied so heavily on this book. He read it first when he was 17 years old. He read it every single year of his life ever since. That means he read it more than I have. I've read it about 6 times. But this is a lot about the science of meditation and the benefits of meditation. We all know this. This is us. This is a typical knowledge worker. This is if you work in an office, but if you don't, I guarantee you have similar numbers of inputs into your head. You know, the main event is right here on your screen, you know, the laptop. And who knows, right now, as I'm talking, you could have 10 different browsers open and your phone going and you could look like the keyboard player for the band Europe, playing 2 keyboards. But where does it get you? Well, it gets you here, a head full of chaos. But it's more so like this. I found this meme that I like this, was that, you know, what the hell is that? Oh, just my mind. I thought that was the most accurate portrayal. You know those people where you could just smell it coming off of them, like, how you doing today? Awesome. I got to go respond to this meeting maker and drink more coffee. Oh! You know, like, who wants to be like that? Who? We don't set out to be that way, and trust me, I could get like that too. But we want to kind of keep it more chill. Here's my other favorite one. Open new tab, forget why. Have you done this maybe as recently as the last 5 minutes? No? Okay. All right. Up above the maze. You guys hanging in there? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Jennifer McElroy, all I got was a wow period. Was that wow bad or wow good? All right. Woot, woot. You guys are freaking awesome. I love the enthusiasm. Dude, I am with you. I heard that. Much love. Thank you so much. Just ordered the Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a pretty sweet book. I'm not going to talk about it too much here. I'll talk about it in later chapters, but it completely altered my life. People told me for about 8 years I should read it. I finally read it, and I've read it about 6 times since, plus listened to the audio version read by Ben Kingsley on iTunes. Amazing. All right, so this is our lives. If we're able to look at our lives from the top down, what does it look like? Well, you see adjacent possibilities, you see opportunities, you see allies, you see resources, you see a way out of pain. That is the benefit of meditation. It creates space, creates perspective, creates the vibe that you're up at the top of a skyscraper looking down on a well-lit city. You're not walking the street in fear. You're not in the maze wondering if there's like a jackal behind that next bush that's going to come out and bite you. So this idea of these 9 Inch Nails lyrics, I was up above it, now I'm down in it. Life is a continual cycle of getting up above it and going down in it. And we got to do one to get to the other, to get to a new level. I also say that it's kind of like life is a cycle of falling in and out of sync with the infinite cosmic groove, if you want a music comparison. So I was up above it. This could also look like the our buddy here from the Matrix, Neo, when he realizes he's the one, stops bullets in the tracks. These don't actually have to be physical bullets. They could be the bullets of self-doubt, self-accusation, hate, all these things. Or do you want to be playing in a game where the game is rigged? There's no secrets. So here's what these things have in common. When you're up above it, you have a sense of control. These are the makings of great work. So if your goals are in line with like doing great work this year, doing great things in the world, I'm telling you, you want to have at least a sense of control. You don't have actual control. Hey, is that my friend Anna again? Could I have you mute? I somehow let me just do this really quick. 1 second, friends. I think I somehow unmuted somebody along the lines. There's always some interesting little curveball with GoToMeeting, and this is it. I kind of like it. To me, that's kind of exciting to me. Okay. So we have sense of control, perspective, creativity, calm. All these things come from deepening your practice. Conversely, and I'll tell you right now, the more I do it, the more I need it. That's why I'm increasing. is that conversely, you have lack of control, stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and fear. And if you think that good work results from any of that stuff, you are cray. That means you're crazy. All right, so I'm not going to give you some big dramatic option here, but you could choose. But choose wisely. Like 15 minutes a day, 5 minutes to start if you could do it, or 24/7, 365 in the matrix. All right, so we're going to talk about the habit loop, and I'll make these resources available to you on the resources page. So has anybody read the Charles Duhigg book, The Power of Habit? Incredible book on breaking down habits. Yeah, Matt Schneider, I kind of figured you would. Love the book, yes, awesome book. Yeah, Leo Babauta from Zen Habits is another really powerful example. The guy has 6 kids. He's made an amazing living as a blogger, moved from another country. He used to be an overweight smoker who ate like crap, and now he's freaking Leo Babauta from Zen Habits. He did it all by rewiring all of his habits. So what's the reward? Well, first of all, we know the routine we're trying to create. We're trying to create some sort of mindfulness stilling practice. But we gotta really remember what the reward is. I just went through the reward with you, and I'm happy to pound it into your head as much as you'll let me over the next 5 weeks. But you could get some immediate gratification, such as lowered stress level, easier breathing, increases in your meta attention. This kind of takes a little bit longer to cultivate, but I guarantee you'll start thinking more clearly faster. This sense of all is wellness, stress reduction, and routine. Okay, so I said 15 minutes of quiet reflection, no screens or inputs, awareness of your breath, focusing on your breath, stillness, and a regular daily practice. So you start with the reward. What am I going to get out of this? And on the resources page, I put a couple links to some gadgets. I don't want you to go out and get these right now while I'm still talking. It'll drive me nuts. However, calm.com, Insight Timer. I've been using Insight Timer lately. I always put my phone in airplane mode when I meditate. However, when I use Insight Timer, I set different bells to let me know when I'm at like 20 minutes, 40 minutes, half hour, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours if I'm going long. Because it does give you a sense of gratification that you're moving through it. But those are great tools to use, and you'll be able to access all those resources after this. And then a cue. What's going to trigger this habit? Setting a 5-minute warning on your calendar, lighting a candle. For me, I always keep a candle nearby, but when I light a candle, I know that I'm going to meditate for 90 minutes or 60 minutes. Meditationoasis.com, that's a great one that somebody else just mentioned. I'll put that on the resource page again. That's awesome. Is 15 minutes a day better than, is 15 minutes once better than 5 minutes 3 times a day? I think it depends on your lifestyle. I mean, I would say if you're going to do 3 times a day times 5 minutes, that's more of like a mindfulness thing. Like before I head into this next segment, I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to refocus, head out. Meditation, I would say 15 minutes. You should try to do 15 minutes all at once. Because what we're trying to do here, in case you didn't realize, is with the habits, we're trying to create what Jerry Seinfeld called the chain. Have you ever heard this awesome story? Like one of the most successful comedians in history, the dude made like $267 million in 1 year back in 1998. A year later, 10 years later, he was still making $85 million a year. Jerry Seinfeld. He had a simple practice that got all of his comedy to a top-notch, consistent level. It was that he had this idea of the chain. So he hung a 1-year calendar on one wall, and every day that he wrote, he'd make a red X. And then as the days went on, his only job was to not break that chain. He held it sacred. So I'd say 15 minutes every single day is definitely better than sporadic 5-minute increments here and there. Like the whole key here is daily. If you're doing that 3 times a day thing every single day, that's awesome. But I want you to settle on something that you can do 7 days 7 days a week out of the next 7 days. So starting tonight or tomorrow and going for the next week. Because what we're going to do next week in the next session is we're going to grade ourselves on how we did. So other cues are launching your browser, setting calm.com as your homepage browser. That's a pretty radical thing to do. When you launch it, you could hit F11 in Firefox and it goes full screen. So you have this moody vibe, you have different music you could choose from. So it's turning your computer, which is usually an enemy of stillness and creator of static and evil, into a vessel for peace, for calm. So think about these things. 7 days. That's the deal. Can you do it? Yeah, and somebody's asking about, yeah, it was Firefox. The Firefox browser, if you hit F11 in Firefox, you could definitely go full screen and it's more immersive. And somebody was asking, do I recommend the same time every day? Personally, I do. For any type of habit you're trying to create, I mean, in a perfect world, you'll be waking up earlier and meditating if you can. Like if you have kids like I do, I have to do it before their feet hit the floor. So I was up at 5 today meditating. Um, I like doing it the same time every day because it helps me frame it in the rest of the day. If I let it get away from me in the morning, I'm kind of chasing it the rest of the day. Like, oh, I better squeeze it in. I'm kind of like that scurrying little critter at the beginning of Ice Age, the movie. Like I'm trying to fit it in, and that could kind of create that addition versus subtraction mindset that I was talking about. So wherever, find the best time you could fit it in and do it. Do it. All right, cool. Here's a quick little case study. I don't know if she made the call, but my friend Haley, who I worked with on Your Soul's assignment, this retreat we did in September, she documented her first. I made her promise to do meditation for the next 30 days after we met, and you could kind of see the ups and downs of her journey. Like some days it's like minutes feel or seconds feel like minutes. Other days it flows, and she's super excited and happy. So I just tell you to really think about the long-term gain here. It's not about, just every single day you get it in. That's why Insight Timer is actually good because you could document it. That's a win. That's part of your reward, is it, wow, I got 1 day, I got 4 days, I got 5 days, I got 7 days, I got 9 days. Haley does rock, Linda. You know she does. Look at her guns. I mean, she owns Kansas City Gym. She's like, this girl could kick my ass. All right. So what is stopping you from creating a stilling practice each day? Are perfect conditions ever going to exist? If I was waiting for perfect conditions, I would have never had 3 children. I would have never married my wife 15 years ago. I would have never wrote the song, started the band, done the job stuff, whatever. Perfect conditions never exist. You'll always find a million more screens that are vying for your attention. You just got to sit down and be determined to create this level of space. But I'm telling you, when you draw that line in the sand, you create this much space, that expands to encompass everything. Now my entire life is organized around my meditation habit versus before when it was the opposite. All right, so here's what we're going to do, everybody. We ready to commit? Who's ready to commit? Oh my God, you guys are so slow on the trigger. Yeah, so Lisa, that's a great question. For the how to meditate, so here's what I got for you guys. Let's do this. I'm going to take you over to my Firefox browser really quick. 1 second. And I'm going to show you the resources page. If you go to thisepiclife.com/resources, I put a lot of things here for you to check out. So we got resources. So if you're looking for the how to meditate, I created a great 2-minute start video with the amazing Susan Piver. Susan Piver is a world-renowned Buddhist meditation teacher. She's been on Oprah a bunch of times. She's written a bunch of books about the subject. So here's everything you need. Here's the workbook. Here's an 8-minute audio podcast I did about the importance of the soul practice. Calm.com, Insight Timer, 7 minutes towards meditation, 2 minutes towards meditation for you busy people. And wow, somebody's in for 7 hours of meditation a week minimum, because I know you'll hold me to it. I don't know, that's pretty hardcore. All I would say is if you're going to do that, crank out, 1 hour or like 30 minutes per day for 7 days a week before you ramp up to that. You just don't want to set yourself, that's the thing with resolutions, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You want to be really realistic. If you could pull it off, I will definitely hold you to it, but I don't want to set you up for failure either. Right on, Anderson. Thanks, man. Well, as we wrap up here, I want to, so definitely go to thisepiclife.com/resources. I put some of this in one of the emails, but this passage from Paramahansa Yogananda, writer of Autobiography of a Yogi, it really summarizes everything about this resolution stuff. Is that a wish implies a helpless desire of the mind. A desire is a stronger wish that may result in action. And then he goes on to say like an intention or a determination. But I want us to focus on volition, because volition consists of a series of continuous, undiscourageable, unceasing determinations and acts revolving around a desire. And that's the way I look at the framework. When you get your non-negotiables in line and those things start spinning through your unique, beautiful, singular lens, that is self-actualization. That is power. That is owning everything that you came on earth to do. And I want nothing more than to see a bunch of badass people like yourselves achieve that. So with that, I'm going to leave you with a quick yogi prayer. I should put this on the page as well. This is great. I say this to myself all day long. I am strong. I am strength. I am healthy. I am health. I am youthful. I am youth. I am immortality. I am immortal. Feels good, right? And Aristotle, lastly, to be excellent, we cannot simply think or feel excellent. We must act excellently. So putting a bunch of goals on a paper for your entire year is not going to make your great year. It's the actions you carry out every single day, hour to hour, in line with who you are as a person, that's going to create something beyond your wildest imagination. All right. Jonathan, I'll leave you with this resource too. Jonathan, my buddy Jonathan, wrote Uncertainty. There's a chapter in here, I think it's chapter 6 or 7. It's some of the best summarized information of all the research on meditation and stilling practice combined into one book. It's kind of a business book in a way, but it is powerful in the way that he organized all the resources for meditation. This is what really drew me into Jonathan's world, and we've since become really tight pals. All right, you ready to do this? Here's what we're going to do next. We're going to access the resources. I want you to commit to your ritual. I want you to think about your environment and the space you work in and optimize it if you need to. And I'd love for you to share some progress. You could tweet at This Epic Life, or we could hashtag 2014 project if you want to as well. But I don't want to make this about this. In case you haven't gathered yet, this isn't about me, and I'm not here to pitch you on shit. I'm here to pitch you on making your life better. So I more so want you to share progress in the sense of I want to know what you're up to. I'd love to see some of your metrics. And of course, 5, show up, same time, same link. Next Thursday, because we got a badass crew coming at you. If you thought this was good, wait till I get the subject matter badasses in. I'm going to be like in the front row the whole time, like, oh my God, Kristoffer's here, Karen Friend Smith is here, Jennifer Boykin's here, Cynthia Morris is here. The people that I have lined up for you over the next 4 weeks we couldn't afford to get all these people in one place, but I got them out of the kindness of their hearts to dedicate this time to us. So please show up next week. We're going to learn a lot about bodily fuel. I'm drinking my crazy alkaline drink. Where did I put it? I lost it apparently. Oh, it's right here. See, this looks like pond water. This is like a straight alkaline drink. And I committed to running 3 miles a day, except it's so snowy, but I got to go do it anyway. All right, everybody. Much love. Until next time, I want to say thank you so much for signing up. If you need me, you know where to find me on my Facebook page. Wow, Deborah, awesome. Deborah Dean Kirby, badass volition boots on and ready to go. Thank you so much, everybody. You guys are awesome. If there's anything else, I think I should probably sign off. I got a full slate. Thank you. Namaste. Are there any other questions? Silas, what's up, brother? Fellow Mother's Baugh. Awesome. Good to see you in here. Thanks, Jennifer. That's very sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you. Esther Oakley. Always the problem, Esther. You're like my problem student. Can you share the deck? Everybody wants to share the deck. You know what? I don't know if I'm going to share the deck yet. I have to think about it, only for the sense that I'd have to fine-tooth comb some of it. But I promise to make these recordings available in some fashion so people could go back and revisit. Let me think about the deck. Yeah, people looking forward to this. I'm telling you, the next 5 weeks of people are going to wonder what the hell's going on over there. We're all going to be like, oh, we are superhuman. And they're going to wonder what the hell's going on with us. Best position to meditate in, the most comfortable one for you. So my guru actually recommends for Westerners, us Americans, to sit straight in a chair with your back not touching the chair, hands upright on your knees, or up by your thighs so your back is straight. The most important thing is your spine should be straight vertical line to the cosmos. It should be like an antenna. That's why this picture, Jonathan actually took this picture of me last year, and it took me, or 2 years ago now, and it actually took me a year to grow into this. I just happened to be sitting like that because I was meditating a lot at the time, but it is the most healthy we could possibly be is when we're sitting in correct posture. And the most important part about meditating is straight spine. Don't slouch. You're cutting off astral frequencies and all sorts of heavy-duty stuff that's going on in your spine with your chakras if you do that. You want to be straight. I try to remember if I can breathe, I can meditate. Yeah, that's beautiful. You guys might really dig that 2-minute video on the resources page. My friend Susan Piver and I did that. She kind of wrote the copy for it, and I went through and put together slides. It's a beautiful little 2-minute sequence of slides where it's a mindfulness practice of saying, you know, I'm going to picture my thoughts going by in my meditation as clouds passing in the sky. And what you got to remember is that you are not the clouds. You are the sky above, meaning that you are that meta lens. And when you do that, all good weather comes and goes, all bad weather comes and goes. You really remember your essence. So watch that 2-minute video. Act Until Victory on my Facebook page. Yeah, totally. I've posted it like 5 times already. I'm like addicted to it. Yeah, for sure. Here, I'll put it up right here too. I like when people say they are all in. Now you're speaking my language. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, my buddy Chris Spitzer. Is that you, Chris? Yeah, Chris Spitzer got inspired by my manifesto and stuff, and he actually launched the meditation program we put together for our company. He took some of these slides and launched it in the Army Corps of Engineers out in Los Angeles. So he got a bunch of nerdy engineers to pay attention to the benefits of meditating. Oh, and by the way, Martin reminded me, yeah, Autobiography of a Yogi is free on Amazon. What I will tell you about that, though, because I'm a nerd and a purist, is that it's amazing to get the story, but once you read it your second or third time, if you're like out of control like me, you might really want the expanded footnotes. And the book has footnotes that are just jaw-dropping. I read the footnotes as much as I read the book. But yeah, there's a free version on Amazon. If you have a Kindle, you could go get it right now, or the Kindle app for your iPad. John's feeling superhuman and needs a new cape. Yeah, me too, bro. I'm going to put on like a little towel around my neck and I'll be like, I say we do it, you guys. Yeah, and it costs only $6 or $7 for the paperback, Autobiography of a Yogi. Wow, and Vicky needed a reminder for, can I get a toot toot? Can I get a beep beep? Running her hands through my fro, bouncing on 24s while I say on the radio, it's the remix to ignition, hot and fresh. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I think I'm going to have to shut this sucker down. I got some appointments I got to keep, and I want to be respectful of all your time. But this has been an amazing kickoff for all of us. As I said, I just work here. I'm really trying to help shepherd in some good years for my peoples, and I think we got a good start. Namaste.